Hi everybody. It's a beautiful Saturday. My name is Abidemi Somoye, your financial planner. I'm so excited about today. And how's your day going? So let's see the first to come up online. Let's see the first to come up online this morning. Let's see. Let's see who's up. Good morning. Good morning. Yes, son is up. Let's see the prince, the king, the queen. Welcome Jude Beku. Thank you for joining me. Please let's go and share it as we come, so that people can know that this is going on. Jude Beku, please let me share this. Can you hear me very well? Beautiful. So good to see you, Mr. Jude. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's go share this. Welcome. I've been seeing your powerful posts on Facebook. Quite liberating. Quite very interesting also. I'm happy that people are getting delivered from so many things that they've been used to. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's go and share this together. Let's share it so that people can know we are up. And today I'll be talking about why nations are poor. Why nations are poor. Why it's not that they were poor from the beginning, but due to some few factors, they are still struggling with their economy. And it's so bad. It's so bad. And my country is involved too. Welcome Shepherd 6. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's go and share this as we come. Let's go and share this. Let's share. Just press your share button on your timeline. So it's a pity that I'm from Africa. I'm from West Africa, a country of West Africa, Nigeria to be precise, and some other African countries. They found themselves in a less developed state. And what are the reasons? Some people think that it's a spiritual problem. Let me shock you. It's not a spiritual problem. What is wrong with us is we have a knowledge problem. We have people in authority, but because they don't know the basics of how things work, they've not been properly taught. Even if they've been properly taught, they've not been properly taught the right things. So when they get there, they make policies that are funny policies that when you just listen, it will amaze you of what they're discussing, what intelligent minds could be discussing about. So I wanted to talk about welcome Michael, thank you so much for joining me. So I wanted to talk about why nations are poor. And I know you know a lot. You can write on my timeline why you think nations are poor. I know you know these things, but I think we need to also let people know that the reason why nations are poor is because they lack principles. I was studying on Singapore. I was looking at the Singapore economy, and I was trying to study the reason why they came from a less developed economy to a developed economy. So I was trying to look at the policies and the strategies that they use, and I noticed that, trust me, some of these policies also needs to be implemented in Nigeria. So the number one point that I'm going to share with you today is the reason why some nations are poor, and they will remain poor if they are not careful, is lack of management of resources. Lack of management of resources. Let me shock you. Do you know that Singapore imports everything, including sand and water? Singapore, they import everything, including sand and water. Where I am, I'm in North Cyprus. Guess what? They also import almost everything. They don't have any specific resources. What they trade on basically is education, tourism and hospitality, and agriculture, more of agriculture, but their basic income comes from education and tourism and hospitality. But I paid attention to their economy a lot, what goes on around, and I noticed that one thing these economies are good at is they know how to manage their resources properly. They are very detailed. For example, as of recent, I was observing the way they here in Cyprus, not Cyprus, I was observing the way they build houses. I was also observing way they restructured and maintained their houses and buildings and schools, guess what? They can renovate a whole square meter of house or buildings without disturbing the environment one bit. And guess what? They do it structurally. They do it in a way that you'll be asking yourself questions. Are these not human beings? Are these not people with the right mindset? Are these not people who have brains in their heads? And guess what? Some of them are not learned. When I say learned, does not mean that they've not educated themselves. Learned, I mean that some of them didn't even go to school, but they are very sound with their trade. Welcome, Muluwapelumi, and welcome, Sheun Yaya. So I was talking about why nations are poor, and I said a lack of management of resources. African countries don't know, some African countries, I won't say all, but anytime you find a nation that is struggling in poverty, in an extreme poverty, that's where you find high level of corruption. That's also where you find high level of lack of management of resources. They don't know how to manage resources. For example, in a budget in an economy, if, for example, in this year I budget for cars for government, for the ministers, for various people in parastatals, and next year I'm also still including funds for cars again. When did your car become an asset such that it's going to bring in resources and your economy is struggling? That's when you will know that it is not even a spiritual, it is they lack proper knowledge of how things work. So if these economies are struggling, then why not they go and they travel? Less developed economies know what is happening all around them. Why not them absorb some of these policies and combine and try and fix it into their own economy? Even though economies differ, the structure of economies differ, the population differ, the culture differ. But guess what? They can bring this policies, that some policies will be applicable in this less developed economy, including Nigeria. So management of resources is one of the basic problems in Nigeria, and most countries that are poor and are struggling, they lack the ability to manage resources properly. Now let me ask you, I also want to let you know, I'm here in Cyprus. I know why I'm using Cyprus, because they are not developed. They are also developing. They don't have any resources, but guess what? They have the basic amenities that they can. There's constant light, there's constant water, there is food. Food is affordable for everybody. There is good road to drive to where you are going to. There's peace, there's high level of security. So you find people working 1, 2. You find people having a nice time outside. They could just be sitting and be discussing, but people are free to move. In such economies, you will find out that theft, stealing will be reduced. Why? Because the basic things that makes an economy move forward is present. So always know that wherever you find high level of poverty, then there has been a high level of management. People have mismanaged their resources. And what is the solution I came up with? The solution I came up with is that the ways where we can use to manage resources properly, you and I need to start from our family. We need to start from our environment. We need to start from our home. How do you manage your car effectively? How do you manage where you are living? How properly do you keep it in shape? Not only where you are living, everything that pertains to you. How well do you manage the resources? So note that if you can manage your resources properly, and you can manage the resources of even those that are assigned to you, if you are working somewhere, you are working in a particular place, and you use people's resources just because they are not your own, you can't be in a position of authority, because the same way you manage people's resources, that's when you are working, that's the same way you are going to manage everybody's resources. But if you've learned to manage your own resources properly, if I've learned to manage my own resources properly, if you have learned how to manage people's resources properly in your organization, in your church, in your environment, then when you get to that position of authority, it will be easier for you to manage people's resources. So note, if you manage your resources properly, then you are fit to actually you are qualified to a large extent to manage people's resources. Number two, before I go, another thing that makes a nation poor is lack of order. Lack of order. People in less developed economies are not orderly. They are not structured. They are not what they do is in a rush. I mean, go and observe these economies. You find that they are struggling because they've not built systems to ensure that things work smoothly. They are just doing trial and error. Like I was using the example here in North Cyprus, when you see them renovating roads, they do it they do it so neatly, orderly, in a very simple manner, well-structured manner. So you will begin to ask yourself questions. How do they do these things? But it's just normal. It's not rocket science. Welcome, Paul Eshikpofo, my brother. I celebrate you. Welcome, Isaiah Noah. So I said number one, lack of management of resources, and number two, lack of order. So wherever you find nations that are less developed, that are struggling, they are not orderly. They are not orderly for anything. See the way they build houses? I'm on an island. The island is not big, but the way they build houses will let you know that people are sat down to plan. So apply this to your life. I'm applying this to my life too. As I'm speaking, I'm also speaking into myself. How well do you manage your resources? How well do you put your things in order? For you to lead effectively, you have to learn to manage your resources, and you've got to learn to put your things in order. So this same time next week, I'm going to be with you. Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome, Abat Agudosi. Let's go and share this, and so that people know that we spoke about this. Let's go and share this. Thank you so much, Paul, Mr. Paul, for joining me. Thank you, Adeyinka Adedayo. Thank you, Isaiah Noah. Thank you, Leflo Ngoma. Thank you, Temilola. Thank you, Queen Sheo, for joining me. Thank you, Palumi. Thank you, Shepherd 6. Thank you so much all for joining me. And thank you, Mr. Jude. King Jude. Thank you so much for joining me. This same time next week, I'm going to be with you. Bye and God bless. And don't let us forget to share this so that people will know we spoke about this. Bye and God bless.